good. How are you? Are you well recovered? It's the long COVID stages. That's good. Oh, I've just realised yeah. He did. So basically, he takes it, to be honest. And then he tried to play a game of DRS chicken, first with Wouter, and then Wouter and Montana collide.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here tonight for season number 8. This round 12 of the championship as we've taken the Belgian Grand Prix from the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Yes, as you can tell, my name is James Third. I'm alive and kicking compared to last week, and I'm going to be bringing you, of course, the action and on track once again here in League of Europe tonight. And I'm not alone, of course, in the comment box. Joining me in the comment box on the right-hand side of me, it is Mr. QVR Killer. Killer, how you doing?
Hello, I am doing very well. Very excited for this one, for a bit of Belgium. We've had a couple of tight, crispy streaks. We've had Australia, Singapore, we've had Baku recently. I'm excited to go back to a much more conventional race. One of the highest speed ones on the calendar should be a good one.
It should be a good one indeed. Of course, the longest track on the F1 calendar, 7 kilometres in length. We'll delve down into the details of the track map very soon indeed. But of course, we had the Baku Grand Prix last week in Azerbaijan. And to be fair, it did bring a little bit bout of the change in terms of the championship. Obviously, Montana still leads the championship. It's 94 points he's got. 106 points, I should say, the advantage he's got over Wouter there in second. Apologies about the grainy graphics that we've got as well. I've literally had to copy and paste these off the spreadsheet that we have for League of Europe for the standings. Connor there in third on 137 as well. And Killer, you obviously were commentating last week alongside Larkin, who I have to thank, of course, for filling in for me last week as well. Connor took the win. Wasn't really plain sailing, though, both in qualifying and the race, especially for Montana, who had no pace last week.
Certainly not in qualifying. Qualifying, we saw a non-NSX front row, which was absolutely bonkers to see. We had Alp and Julbream on the front row. Julbream had a difficult race in the end, didn't finish the race. And Montana had a bizarre race almost. He wasn't involved in any incident. He just didn't have the pace, which is something we've not had to say at all really this season. Even Singapore, when he had a mare of a race by his standards, he was still blindingly quick. But here, he just wasn't on the level of Alp. Wasn't on the level of Connor, spent much of the first half of that race desperately clawing on to Alp's DRS. And then Alp had a pit glitch, and then suddenly roles were reversed. And then Montana, he got passed by Wouter with 2 laps to go, had a collision there into turn 3, passed by Matt at turn 16 on the last lap, trying to outsmart the Dutchman with some DRS tactics, didn't quite work. And Montana ended up in 5th place, which I believe, barring Singapore, is his worst result of the season. Yes, it's only the second time he's not been on the podium. And in fact, in all of his podiums, he's been first or second. So it's only the second time this season he's been outside of the top 2.
Yeah, which is bad to think. Obviously, Montana has got a big ABS advantage as well. Coming into, not tonight, obviously, in Belgium, coming into the championship, I think he's had the advantage over everyone right from the get-go. Very strong run of results. Of course, Wouter there and Connor maybe playing out for second fiddle. But anything can happen in Formula One, and it might just well do, of course, coming into tonight here in Belgium. Running through the rest of the standings as well. Rudy in 4th, Campbell there in 5th, Izza in 6th, Yildirim, Gary, Verstappen, and Pease on the top 10. Then we've got Packer, Jeroen, Justas, Jacob, Mentalist top 15. Nathan and Alp, of course, you mentioned, finished there in 2nd on his debut last week as well. The side Max Miltberg's man there in 17th. Maledictus in 18th, Hyper there in 19th, and Matthias there in the top 20 after his best results of the season as well, which is very good to see. Normally, when I come back, though, Matthias tends to do the DNF, so hopefully that is not going to be the continuation of his form from last week, and hopefully does give a very good performance, of course, out on track. Rocco, Forza, Brennan, Gladbach, Dylan, and Dan are the 25 drivers that have so far scored points coming into tonight as well. Constructor standings quickly before we do go into the track map. AlphaTauri lead the way on 305. They're not being shown on your screen, so I'm just going to read them out. Ferrari in 2nd on 211. Aston Martin in 3rd on 154. Alfa Romeo 4th on 133. Williams in 5th on 117. Haas in 6th on 105. Alpine in 7th on 58. Mercedes in 8th on 48. Red Bull in 9th on 30. And then McLaren there in 10th on 28 points. So that is how the land lies in terms of the constructor standings, of course, as well. And, of course, AlphaTauri have been up there. Of course, Montana has scored the majority of those points. Gary playing second fiddle. Of course, he just wants that free Constructors' Championship.
He's having a very solid season. Gary's consistently up there, isn't he, in qualifying around 5th or 6th place we see most weeks. Hasn't been able to convert it every time. But I think he has had a very solid landing. Much more so, I mean, it's less of a overwhelming victory for Montana than it is in the battle of Aston Martin. 137 points for Connor, 16 for Hyper, who isn't racing this evening. I want to give a shout out as well, as you're running through all the teams there, to Rocco Reggie for real, returning from a race ban this week. And I know, James, he is your best friend in League of Europe after what happened at Hungary. I'm pretty sure he picked up the most severe penalty I've ever seen. The man was in AI, as it turns out. You may not know this, for 14 laps. In that race, he was in AI, including all the way up until his retirement. So 20 license points attracted him a race ban, but he's back with us, and I'm sure he's feeling very racy and motivated for a good result this evening, because, it has to be said, with 11 points, he hasn't had one so far this season. His best result is 9th place, which came at France. So I think Rocco is well motivated for a good result this evening.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm glad Rocco's back, of course, this week. I'm going to try and right the wrongs of what I said in Hungary 2 weeks ago when he DNF'd. But at least something has came to light, and hopefully he'll be actually in a human form as opposed to AI form, of course, here tonight in Belgium. And speaking of Belgium, let's have a look at the historic track map in question. 7 kilometres in length, 4.3 mile, 19 turns away to now drivers out on track around the dinosaur layout. Of course, that is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. There are, of course, many DRS zones around here. One then towards turn number 1, one then down the Kemmel Straight in towards Lecom there at turn number 5 as well. Just the 2 DRS zones, of course, pertaining on this track. And Killer, it is absolutely historic, this track. One of the best on the racing scene, and one of the most historic, of course, on the F1 calendar. Should be a good race tonight.
It should be, and as you say, I think it's probably perhaps the most endearing and charming and well-loved of all circuits on the F1 calendar, but not in the F1 game. I know it's not particularly popular here, not least because the track model is ancient. I don't think it's really been updated since 2016, and it shows it's probably the worst track model that is in the game. I mean, my good friend Car Mentalist will tell you all about that. But so it's very popular in real life, less popular here. I know it's not everyone's favourite, but I think it should be very competitive. Even though it's the longest track on the calendar, it's not a particularly challenging one for the most part. Lots of nice long radius corners, very forgiving corners. I think we're going to see quite a tight qualifying session. If it's dry, and is it dry? Black screen suspense.
Oh, no.
It's wet in qualifying, and Montana, congratulations on the pole, mate. 3 seconds clear of the rest of the field. This is a battle for P2 we've got now, James.
It might well be, yeah. I was saying to Killer, I'm not sure if you caught a little bit of our conversation because I forgot to unmute the desktop audio. So you might have heard his voice in our conversation a little bit earlier on. We were saying how, of course, Connor and Montana could land blows here tonight. For the intermediates, I've got to favour Montana now over Connor. I was going to predict Connor potentially for P1. Montana is going to be one of the first out on track, glitching his way actually coming out the pit lane. Have a feeling our resident Alpine man of Packer is going to be one of the first out, but indeed it's not. It's Nathan, the first man out on track. Potentially another favourite as well coming in tonight. Of course, part of the QVR team once again. The Williams man, of course, has had good hopes of qualifying this season. He'll be expecting Portimao, I think, to be on the calendar next season, that is for sure. But Nathan has had his glimpses. How do you expect him to go here tonight in Belgium?
Very quickly, obviously being a QVR man, I have done some practice with Nathan. He's very quick. In the dry, he's done very low 42s. I think I've heard Montana's done a 41.7 though, which is beyond alien pace. But I think Nathan will be ruining a little bit a wet qualifying session today. I think he would have fancied his chances much more so in the dry. Although Montana just popped in to stream chat to say qualifying is drying up at the end, and if it is drying up, it's going to be a case of last across the line. And if it does hit that point where the delta is coming down for the dry tyres second by second as the checkered flag falls, it's going to be a fascinating case of see who can engineer themselves to be last to start a lap.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm on board with Nathan, and to be honest, the rain doesn't look too bad. It looks like it's basically a shower that's wet at the track. The track is already beginning to dry. Obviously, these inters are going to be out for at least 10 minutes, so maybe we see the dry period in this session being around the 5, 4, 3 minute mark. That is when it will stop raining. Whether or not it then dries from that point onwards remains to be seen. Of course, this is Belgium. This is, of course, mainly uphill, downhill, quite a lot of elevation change. So the rain might just affect that, as Nathan nearly spins his way coming out of the bus stop chicane. Now on the run to line, we'll turn off the timing tower on the left-hand side. We will keep an eye, of course, on the drivers on the mini-map on the right-hand side. But Nathan on the run down in towards turn number 1, down in towards the Lasau's hairpin. Lasau's hairpin can be a little bit of a bugger on this game, but Nathan manages that very nicely indeed. Now on the run down, of course, in towards the most famous section on the track. That is a Rouge, and that's Radion actually at the top of the hill, and if he's not careful, he would have been invalidated there. Just has to back off the throttle, but now 8th gear down the straight, in excess of 200 miles an hour, in down the Kemmel straight. Dutch corner there on the left-hand side. We'll be supporting the likes, of course, of Matthias coming into tonight. 31.4, not too bad. Around a second and a half already off the dry times we should be seeing in terms of dry lap times around here later on. But Nathan now coming out of Lecom on the run down in towards Bruxelles, which of course is named after the Bruxelles, of course, being the capital of Belgium. And then in toward the left-hander of X corner, named after Jackie X, of course, historic Formula 1 driver, Belgian Formula 1 driver as well. And that gives its name, of course, down in towards Pouon, which is the left-hander, famously Schumacher and Coulthard, 1998, down into there. Hopefully, none of that please in qualifying, as Nathan now comes through the left-hander of Pouon. Now in towards the Fania chicane through the right-hander, not to be confused with the Fania curb, I think that is at Monaco, if I'm not mistaken. Nathan though in towards the middle sector, should be around a 121 I think through the middle sector. Yeah, 121.7 in the middle sector split, so not too bad from Nathan. He actually looks like he's backed off his lap coming through Stavelo on the run now down in towards Blanchemont. We'll carry on with this lap for now on board with Nathan. He is running low fuel as well, so that's coming quite interesting. Should see majority of drivers, if it is going to be wet in the first 10 minutes of qualifying, setting a majority on their into laps, as now Nathan comes in towards the bus stop chicane through the right-hander, then through the left-hander now of the bus stop on the run towards the line. Nathan already setting around a 151, I think this is going to be, yeah, 151.7 to start off the night. Not too bad at all. Packer, I think, is going to come in behind. He is actually on an out lap, so he's not coming across the line. Montana already goes a second clear of Nathan, and that already seems like the lap time to beat.
It does. A second quicker for Montana is a huge margin, although I have some intel on that. Nathan said earlier today while practicing he hates being the first out on track because he can't deal with the pressure of knowing he's going to be on stream, so under that played against him a little bit, although Connor has gone 51.4, so I'm not sure that was a slow lap from Nathan. It was more than just alien pace from Montana, because even Campbell popping in there, P's in as well. No one is within 7/10 of Montana right now, so that is something of a marker as well to their 52.3 for the man who's second in the championship. Not particularly competitive there, 6 of the 7 times we've had so far.
Yeah, Verstappen's on the lap coming through Lecom as well. Majority of drivers, Maledictus, Forza, Brendan, Rudy, all either backing off their laps or picking up this and next lap invalidations, like we saw with Rudy coming through the bus stop chicane. Verstappen, though, is on a lap, of course, a resident here in Belgium, as I flicked a Packer by mistake. He's just starting up on a lap there in the Alpine, now a resident American. But Verstappen on the run down in towards Pouon. Of course, Verstappen is looking to try and be up there. He has got very good form in wet qualifying normally. Whether or not he lives up to the pace of Montana remains to be absolutely seen. But Montana out on top, Campbell in second, Connor in third. Brendan now goes fourth ahead of Nathan. So I think Nathan really troubling in terms of his pace so far. That 51.7 I wouldn't put down, to be honestly, being first out on track. Basically because he's got no pace. Simple as.
It's hard. It's so hard to judge people's pace in these conditions. You can't really tell what people are running in terms of setups. I just see if everyone's running a dry setup. Sorry, I was just distracted there briefly as you were talking, because I saw a yellow flag. One of the Aston Martins. I wasn't sure if they were backing off or not, but I think it was just Connor on his in-lap. Let's have a look at how Verstappen's going to finish this approaching the bus stop. Look at that double lock on the front tyres as well. I think if into La Source particularly and bus stop, you've got a massive advantage if you are an ABS user. And Verstappen going P6, 51.8. I know he's not the quickest in the dry this week, so that is a very respectable time. And Gary goes even quicker, 51.5 with his second effort. Goes P4 for the Irishman.
Yeah, good lap there by the Irishman, in fact. Rudy is on a lap. In fact, he's coming through the final couple of corners on the run towards the line. He should be up there in terms of pole. 51.0 puts it up there towards Montana. Rudy is a potential favourite coming into tonight. I believe as well, looking at my camera angle, my eyes are not deceiving me. I think it stopped raining already out on track 5 minutes or nearly 8 minutes gone into the session. So that means, obviously, we're going to get dry running sooner rather than later. And maybe we'll see dry running, I think, from around 6-7 minutes, I think, from this end of the session, all the way to the checkered flag. So if that's going to be the case, it's not going to be a case of that's the cost line. It could well be the case of track evolution.
I think it could be. I don't know if running around on the track does speed the dry up rate, or if it's just everyone may as well just wait in the pits for the delta to come down on the tyres, because you can flick between the inters the dries and see the exact moment the dries become quicker. Montana is up by 1.2 seconds on this lap. I think it's going to be a token dominatory pole though. J. Cole with a 50.6. Montana's about to blast it out of the water, so these times are absolutely meaningless. They're entertaining for us nonetheless. With 10 minutes to go, we've got some on-track action. If anyone fancies a glory run to put themselves on pole, even momentarily, it is worth it with J. Cole quickest. Because, of course, if you get crashes, it could still happen. Montana 49.0, 1.6 seconds quicker than J. Cole, 2 seconds quicker than Rudy. But I think it is telling that 9 of the drivers here, James, haven't really bothered setting a lap here yet. No, they don't need to.
And Connor's on an absolute fly of a lap as well. 1.5 seconds up in the middle sector coming out of Stavolo on the run up towards Blanchimont. Already DRS enabled out on track as well. And that means the track evolution is already there. And Connor goes wide coming through Blanchimont and he invalidates. So unfortunate. He's going to come back in the pit lane though to put on that fresh set of, I would assume, medium compounded tyres to start off, because it still looks relatively overcast in terms of these conditions. Majority drivers, though, you should expect going on to that sort of soft compounded tyres. But Connor, until that invalidation coming through Blanchimont, that was looking quicker than Montana. And Montana should be afraid, I think, from his NSX teammate. Of course, he's out on top at the minute, but whether or not that is going to be the case towards the end of the session, where it is going to be an even playing field towards the end, remains to be seen. So I'm now going to absolutely curse myself in terms of that. And J. Cole, by the way, is purple in the middle sector. 1.3 seconds up in the middle sector. So this is looking like a good lap from the Red Bull. Whether he has enough fuel to complete the lap remains to be seen. But Montana out on top, J. Cole in second, Rudy in third. Obviously, drivers pushing for track evolution. There's many drivers on an out lap, though. Obviously, still on their set of inters. J. Cole now coming through in towards the bus stop chicane and actually backs off and comes in the pit lane. So that was looking good up until that point. Montana, though, out on top. J. Cole in second, Rudy there in third. But I think we're going to get a battle, maybe of the NSX boys, sooner rather than later, as Gary is coming through the middle sector. And he, I think, is going to go purple in the middle sector by 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, it looks nice when you see those purple times and how much your delta's improving, but these times are still fairly meaningless. Even those who are on the soft laps now, Giron and Alp, who are going around, or I actually think they might be on out laps. I think my time in Tower is lying to me. I think Dylan is going to be the first soft runner to start lap. Even those times, for the next couple of minutes at least, will be pretty meaningless, because the track evolution is still coming in. We're probably going to see 44s, 43s for the first couple of runs. Gary does a 48.4, does go provisional pole. But until we're getting towards the 42s, unless anyone decides to crash, you can't put anything in what these laps mean. The order's going to change so much between now and the end of the session. It's not until we've got around 2 or 3 minutes left, I think, that an order will start to clarify itself.
Yeah, Dylan's already 30.1 in the first sector. As long as he puts this within the white lines, this will go quicker by an absolute mile. As soon as I say that, though, Alp goes quickest, 44.5. Good lap there from the Turk. He's currently out on top. Gary there in second, all but lasted 30 seconds. His bid for pole position, or provisional pole at least. Gary there down to second, Montana there in third. I think he would have been secretly smiling inside of himself, being ahead of Montana by 0.6 of a second. Shame, there's still around 6 minutes to go in this session. Out on top from Gary in second, Montana in third, J. Cole in fourth. Still on board with Dylan, though, on this lap. The Red Bull man now coming through the Fania chicane. And then, of course, in towards Campos Corner, named after the legendary, of course, Formula 2 boss Campos, who obviously is part of the Campos Racing team. 15.3 though in the middle sector from Dylan, and now coming through the Stavolo. And of course, Campos, I think, the man who owned Campos Racing, obviously, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, just why I'm saying Campos. He passed away, I think, a few years ago due to cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, a very sad passing. Somebody just getting out of the way there about Dylan in towards the left-hander of the bus stop chicane. On the run towards the line. It should be quicker than Alp. On the run to the line. And it is. And that would have looked pretty darn silly if that wasn't quickest, to be honest. But Dylan out on top. Alp in second. Gary there in third. Other drivers on the lap?
I'm just having a hunt. We've got Packer going around bus stop chicane. Gary's still out on the intermediates, which is an interesting one. But Packer's going to go, that's fastest, with a 43.6. These times are still the thick end of, well, a second and a half off where I'd expect them to be come the end of the session. Montana hasn't gone out yet for that reason. He knows the track is not as quick as Campbell having a close shave there with one of the Mercedes. And what are you seeing, James, that's giving you a bit of a chuckle there?
Campbell 6.969 up on his lap time coming through the middle sector. You can't write the script, honestly. Welcome back to LOE. He's out on top of the 43.1. Campbell, I think, is going to obliterate this out of the water. He comes on the run towards the line. 42.7. He goes quickest. 8.6 second improvement. But yeah, just my childish insight, I think, coming out into play there.
Yeah, we've got Gilbream coming to the line now. Went a touch deep into the first part of bus stop, but at this point in the session, it doesn't matter. Just get a quick lap on the board. It's 42.6. It's provisional pole for Gilbream, and they're all going to be provisional pole right now. I expect everybody to be aiming around the 42s. Verstappen with only a 43.2. That's not a particularly great lap for Verstappen. Let's have a look at J. Cole. He's just starting a lap. Actually, no, that's not. Let's see what Connor can do, because Connor's invalid. But I want to see if he finishes his lap, what the time's going to be. And this will give us a real marker of where the pace of this session is at. Is it going to be a 42? It's 42.6, nothing particularly special. Actually, that was 1,000 slower than what Gilbream did. Is that Brendan has just gone into P4 there?
Yeah, it is. I was on board with Brendan actually through the middle sector, through the final sector. Look, quite an astute lap there from the Irishman. Currently going into fourth, 1300ths of a second ahead of Brendan. We're on board with Connor now, though, on the run up the Kennel Straight, down in towards Lake Como course at turn number 5, passing Dutch corner to the left-hand side. And now it should be a 29.9 in the first sector. Oh, 30 flats in the first sector from Connor. Not too bad. Rides the curb now coming through Lake Como. And now out of the exit of Lake Como in towards Bruxelles. And this is looking more assured already from Connor on this lap. The sun now bursting through the clouds. That's how quick it could change around here. Obviously in real life, 4 seasons in one 24-hour of Le Mans in the past, where of course it snowed, it rained, it sleeted, goodness knows what it does in terms of the weather here. Gilbream out on top, Campbell in second, Isra in third, but Connor is looking very, very good on this lap so far. I believe Montana is out on the lap as well. He's actually still in the pit lane, so Montana is still in the pit lane at this moment in time. Currently in 13th, maybe waiting for the track evolution to come. Track evolution's already coming. It's Connor in the middle sector, 14.8. It's not purple in the middle sector from Connor, and these lap times are still a little bit way off what I was predicting, because I was thinking 41.5, 41.6 is around here. But Connor now coming through Blanchimont on the run up towards the bus stop chicane. This is going to be borderline trying to improve on Gilbream. It's about 10 seconds from that board into the bus stop chicane, and he backs off. He was not improving, I don't think, on that lap. So Connor back into the pit lane. Disappointing down there in 15th position, but at least he's got one more crack of the cherry, as the likes of J. Cole and Alp, I believe, are on laps as well. J. Cole, in fact, has backed off, and Alp through the middle sector, 16.2. I think he'll be coming in the pit lane.
Yeah. Oh no! Going again. I'm surprised. I was expecting Connor to come in, because he would have run out of his ERS. And also something that's worth mentioning: the soft tyres on here, they wear like crazy. By the end of your flying lap, they're on about 8%, and the delta to a fresh set of softs is about 0.4. So any second lap is a write-off. So I think Connor was just pushing to get back to the pits, because he'll be coming out immediately, but he's still going to have a tight turnaround to get his out lap done and across the line to start. Everyone will be wanting to come out at the last possible minute with how much the softs wear as well. I think we're going to see some very slow outlaps. I'm surprised that J. Cole finished his lap so early. Alp had a huge moment there coming through Le Com, wrestling with the car like a lion there, and again on the exit of Malmedy, and he is really hustling this car around. He's wringing every hundredth of a second out of that car. I'm shocked though he started his lap so early and not waiting for the best possible track evolution, trying to be the last one across the line, as most people are in this session.
I wonder if he's going to help Connor, because I've realised that Connor is coming through. I think he's in the first sector somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. I think he just came out of the pit lane. I wonder if he's going to give him a little bit of help, potentially, on his lap, if he doesn't finish this lap out. He has gone very quick through the first sector. He wrestled the car coming out of Campos, and now 14.5 in the middle sector. He's up on his time, 1.6 second improvement. Currently, going to get him a 42.9, so he will go third at this point, if, and only if, he doesn't find these 3 or 4 tenths that he needs to go into provisional pole. Gilbream out on top, Campbell in second, is in third. Campbell is just starting up on a lap. He's coming through the final sector split. Still that glitch though in terms of the timing, so we apologise about that. It's out of our control, all built within the game. Out now around the final corner, on the run to the line. The Turk carries on his good form for now. 42.5 goes quickest. Anybody else on the lap that's of note?
Not that I can see. It's so hard to tell. It's irritating. I think Verstappen's on an out lap. I can't see anyone who's
Montana
close to
is
finishing. So let's have a look at Montana. Indeed. Oh, I just hopped on board through Malmedy there. That was a lovely line. So easy for the rear end to step out on you there. And then again, you want to turn the car in so early. This never-ending hairpin. Bring the car to the right-hand side. Chuck it into no name as it used to be. X corner as it is now. Will Montana take the esports line through Pouon? That's a 2021 thing, I think. Not anymore. Down to 7th gear. Kiss the curb on the inside. Just use it on the exit to settle down. And then bring the car to the left of Lefania. You don't want to touch the inside curb here. It'll spit you back out. But then you want to absolutely murder the inside of the second part, as Montana does there. Use all of the curb on the exit. Checkered flags out. And this is a lovely lap from Montana. Touch of understeer there into Canvas, but a 14.3 through the middle sector. This man is going to be, it's going to be around a 42.2, 42.3, possibly, maybe even a 42.1 for Montana. This is a big lap from him.
Yep, Campbell's crash coming through Malmedy as well on the exit of Malmedy. In fact, so that is him down in P3 currently. Whether or not they remain there remains to be seen. It all depends on drivers around. And Montana now into the bus stop chicane. Locks up a bit slightly. Manages lost a bit of time there. Montana on the run to the line. Should go quickest. And it's a 42.3 in the end. A little bit sketchy coming through the bus stop chicane there from him. Alba's not on a lap. He's back out on an out lap. Yulbream 29.7 in the first sector is not looking too bad. On the run to the line there, Packer goes 5th. Good lap time there from him. Is at 29.9 in the first sector, so not really interfering at this moment in time. Connor's coming through the middle sector. I'm right on board with Yulbream for now. We'll go on board with Connor in a second because I know he'll be on a quick lap. And Yulbream responds. Purple middle sector, maybe quicker than Montana as well. This is not over and done with yet. Nathan goes 4th as well. Matthias going 6th. All the lap times are now coming in at this nitty-gritty part of the session. Montana's lap time is still beatable. Jeroen now goes 2nd with a 42.5. But Yulbream is going quicker than Montana through the intersection now into the bus stop chicane. Now, can the Haasman get a really good exit on? Is this pole position for Yulbream on the run to the line? No, it's 42.359, nearly. But what is Connor doing out on track as well? Is it towards the line? He's going to go, I think, into 10th. He does. Is it goes 10th. Wouter on the run to the line as well. He goes 11th. Connor on the run to the line now. He improves up to top. Connor goes quickest. I'm not sure what his personal best was. Looking at it, I think it's a 41.2, if I'm not mistaken. But it is Connor out on top. We'll have a look at the timing screens now. And it is Connor by 0.002 of a second. Are you kidding me? Connor out on top for Montana in second. Yildirim there in third. Last gasp attempt from Connor, and it's pole position, and it's an NSX 1-2. Mad end to qualifying.
Made up for not either of them being on the front row last week, haven't they? That was a sensational lap from Connor, and to pull that out of the bus stop chicane, such an easy part of the track to bottle as well. That was mega from him. Him and Montana lock out the front row. Julbream and Rudy third and fourth. Jeroen fifth. Al went from second to sixth in space about 30 seconds. Nathan seventh. Campbell eighth. Matt ninth. Then Verstappen is at Wouter second in the championship starts 12th. Packer, Pease, Gary all the way down in 15th. Brendan, J. Cole, Dylan, Rocco, and Maledictus. Those last two not setting laps. Gary was up in 5th place when he set his lap. He ended in P15. The picture changed completely in the last minute. That was a mad end to qualify.
Yeah, mad end to qualifying, but what is not mad is, I've got a prediction right. Connor out on top for Montana there in second. I said he might be one to watch out for, and he's just defeated him by the narrowest of margins here in Belgium. And if that qualifying session's anything to go by, we are in for an absolute fantastic race. Hopefully now everyone on the edge of their seats, just like me there in commentary at the end there of qualifying. Looking through the chat as well, good evening to everyone that is tuning in. 19 viewers currently, which is above what we've got currently on this average. TDB saying Montana pole. I didn't think of it. To be honest. Montana there as well saying qualifying to run up at the end and maybe the last across the line. Pole maybe. And I think those comments are going to come back to haunt him.
Absolutely. I think Connor was the last to start his lap, and he was certainly the last to finish, although I think there were a few invalidations in there. Let's have a look at tyres. Let's talk tyres. I'm expecting, I've not looked yet, most to go mediums.
Oh.
And indeed they have. The hard here is such an awful tyre in the first lap. Very so. Sort of a similar situation to what we had at Kota back in the day. The hard tyre, the warm-up on it is just awful. You can't use the softs here. They're dead after 2 laps. So medium hard is the way. Rudy and Jerome, expect those guys to get swallowed, particularly with Alp, Nathan, Campbell, Matt. They're all very quick around this track, those QVR lads I know. So I'm expecting Rudy and Jerome to have a torrid time of it on the first lap. But if they do hold on to position, it's going to be the top three that run away with it. I think we're in, James, for perhaps another Connor and Montana dilly-dalliance all the way from lap 1 to the checkered flag. But for once, they're on the same strategies, which is
they are on the same strategy, and I think this is going to present a real opportunity for Montana on lap 1, because we saw 4 wide 2018 in real life, Hamilton, Perez, all the likes, and then here comes Sebastian Vettel. I think we might get that potentially in terms of Montana and Connor coming through a Rouge and Radium. That's, of course, if Rocco doesn't kill people right down the bottom end of the field or somebody like that. And Montana there in second has got a real opportunity. He's going to be starting on the fresher compound tyre, on that set of mediums, on the fresher side of the grid. And that means he is going to get potentially run down in towards the source. If not, he certainly will down the Kemmel straight in towards Lecom. Of course, DRS train and slipstream trains around here are absolutely potent, so that could now work in the advantage of Montana. It could work in the advantage of Yildirim as well. And if there's no safety cars at the end of lap 1, Rudy there in 4th could potentially be a second and a half down at the end of lap 1. And if that's the case, you may as well crown the front 3 as your podium sitters for tonight, because obviously guys on a set of mediums will be coming in at that point as well, between lap 10 and lap 12 to go onto a set of hard compound tyres. There is a possibility they can make 15 laps as Connor nearly goes off track there, coming up in towards Blanchimont. But let me know in the comment section who is your top 3, and Killer Blue, I'm going to come across to you. Who's your top 3?
Connor, then Montana, and then I'm going to do a James. I'm going to back Rudy. I never back Rudy. Oh, look at Yildirim there. He's done a full 360 out of the bus stop. I'm going to back Rudy. I'm going to say our first, second, and fourth are going to be our first, second, and third. And I'm going to watch the start from Nathan or Campbell, because I want to see some of what action goes on in the midfield.
Yep, and we're going to watch it from Montana on the run down in towards turn 1. Last time we rode on board with Montana, he made contact up the start with Rudy, and that was, of course, in France a few weeks ago. But here we go, Connor and Montana, the battle you all want to see. 5 red lights coming on here in the gantry. Hit for the Belgian Grand Prix, round 12, and Rudy gets a drive-through already, and it's lights down, away we go. Connor gets a very good start. Montana now on the run down in towards turn 1. On the left-hand side, will try and waltz around the outside and towards the source. Tries to get the job done, and it's nearly 3 wide coming out of the source, but Connor gets a move done, and now Montana is through, and he's into the lead of the race. Connor a bit squirrely out of the source. Yildirim there in 3rd. Rudy there in 4th is staying in there. Campbell and Yorona side by side up through a Rouge and Radion. Goodness me, what an overtake that is by Campbell. Great stuff. And here comes Yildirim now on the back of Connor, running down the straight in towards the Kemmel, straight down in towards Lecom. Montana as well down in towards Brazil. And this is now going to be quite interesting, because White and Verstappen are also side by side in the background as well. But Montana leads the way. Connor there in 2nd. Yildirim in 3rd. And there's been a collision further down the field. I think it's Maledictus and Dylan that's being caught up in a collision, as Verstappen and White are still side by side in towards Puon.
So much side by side on this lap. And look at that. Verstappen went a little bit deep, and here comes Ariel Wouter back at him towards the Lefania chicane. And up ahead as well, we've still got Nathan, who's been spun round there by FVR Giron, I think that was, in the middle of Lefania. Something else I want to say, Alp has had a shocking start, down 6 places, and he's on the medium tyre, just couldn't get off the line, and then got mugged all the way round the lap. But Nathan, so quick here, he's now down to 18th place. Dylan's had a mare as well, because he's down in 20th. And Campbell is looking really ready on the lap, because he's got Rudy in his sights here.
Alp was about to lose another position there to Packer, who's right on the back of him in towards the bus stop chicane. The American absolutely sends it down the inside line. There's been a bit of contact, I think. Rudy's into the pit lane, and there's more contact. There's an AlphaTauri inside of each other. There's a spinner on the left-hand side there. That, I think, was Matthias spinning. It was. Matthias had spun, and now parting the Red Sea, 3 wide in towards turn number 1. Still side by side. Still ghosted inside of each other. Pease and Gary. Gary is ahead of Pease. They're still ghosted inside of each other. This is going to end up in hells on earth. There's now Pease and Packer are side by side on the run down in towards the Rouge and Radion. This is only lap 2, and they're now side by side through Rouge and Radion. Just about gets through there, but that's Pease in the wall. Never going side by side through there. Matthias now going to try and get his teammate. That should be a full course yellow. It is a VSC out on track. Montana leads the way. Connor in 2nd. Yildirim there in 3rd. No full safety car out on track. It's a VSC. Pease hard into the wall, and that was as a result of him and Packer going side by side in towards the Rouge and Radion. Managed on lap 1. It's lap 2 though, when the rhythm is obviously being gained. Packer side by side. lent on each other, contact, and that is why P's out of the race.
I never called these incidents at the time, but I think that was 100% Pease' fault. They were neck and neck into the corner, but Packer gave Pease more than an arm's length of room, and Pease just understeered so much through Eau Rouge, was nowhere near the curb as it bends to the right through Radion. And he just went so far wide that he was always going to get clipped by Packer if the Alpine took the left-hand turn at the top of the crest. That was, I want to say that was Pease' fault. And shout out to Campbell. Campbell, he's got past Rudy and Giron early on. He's past the hard runners, and he's now very much in that three-way fight for the lead. He's turned it into a four-way fight. Campbell very much in this race.
Yeah, he is, but I think we're getting back underway now from the VSC restart. Montana certainly speeding up Adam from Connor there in second. Yildirim there in third. Campbell is on the back, though. We're just waiting on the Delta to end. And there, Delta ends. Nobody's picked up a drive-through penalty, which is good to see. And that caused a bit of a ripple effect. And behind, because Nathan's going around the outside on Brendan in towards the bus stop chicane. If he pulls this off, this will be a great move, but he doesn't in the end. Brendan's staying ahead of him. For now, on the run down in towards the source at turn number 1. Izra and Matthias side by side. Just ahead of Shove. Still on board with Nathan, though, in towards turn number 1. On the back of Brendan. Contact further down, and Matthias has been spun coming through the source. That never was going to work. A concertina effect into each other, and Rocco is now on the back of J. Cole as well. Rocco already potentially going to be inside all the points. Maybe not causing that collision, as I said, on lap 1, as Rocco is on the back now of J. Cole, who was up there in terms of qualifying. Now Rocco pulls the inside line, 2x2, side by side line abreast now coming in toward Blakeholm. Rocco tries to dive it down the inside line, and that was just silly. Rocco round and goes into the back. I think of Brendan, who might have just avoided that slightly. The Irishman there in 14. But Rocco there, not really learning from his race ban, to be honest, there, causing another incident out on track. And who needs other drivers to come into F1 when you've got Rocco?
I'm going to hard disagree with you there. I think J. Cole was very harsh. He did not give Rocco perhaps enough space down the Kemmel Straight, and then the contact, I think, was just contact model. Also, J. Cole was the one who punted Matthias around at turn 1. Matthias took a high line through a source, tried to get a cutback, but he didn't realise J. Cole was sending up his inside. J. Cole turned the Alpine round, and that was a shocking pit straight for Matthias, because for the second lap in a row, he nearly spun it out of the bus stop chicane. So some really scruffy driving going on here all the way down the field, and particularly from J. Cole and Matthias on that lap. And let's have a look at Gary.
Out on the back of Wouter.
Around the back of Wouter here, braking into the bus stop. I don't think Wouter's going to find that one too much. He's on the hard tyres, and that was nicely done. And Gary and Packer really sizing that one up as well there.
Yeah, he set that up all the way from Stavilo there. Out, of course, finished second last week. Gary having it down the inside of Wouter in the background there as well. Still, only on lap 4, and we've had about as many overtakes as we've seen in a season here of LOE, which is really good to see. Gary on the back of Wouter. Wouter holds position. Gary, though, is going to try and come at him up through a Rouge and Radion. Look at the speed that the Irishman carries as well, compared to the guy in front, compared to Wouter in front on that set of hard compound tyres. And here comes Gary right on the back of Wouter. J. Cole losing another position to Nathan further down the field as well. But Gary around the outside of the line of the com tries to get the job done. He'll hang it in and out on the inside line, but Wouter holds on, and those hards are certainly getting up the temperature now. He's there in 8th position. Gary there in 9th. Packer there in 10th. The remain as they are. Packer they're trying to have a go. Gary in towards Bruxelles. Doesn't get the job done. And yeah, to be honest, I'll look back on that instant, and yeah, J. Cole I think was quite harsh, quite aggressive towards Rocco. Contact model, as you say, coming in there as well. So Rocco, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for that one. He's down there in 18. J. Cole there in 13. J. Cole maybe landing himself a little bit of trouble with the steward potentially a little bit later on. But Montana out on top, Connor there in second, Yildirim there in third. Front two have now pulled away from Yildirim, and it's now the NSX show out in front on lap 4.
As always, isn't it? Yildirim quite often has the one lap pace, but he never seems to quite be there in the race. He promises a lot, delivers very little, does Yildirim. That's harsh of me to say, perhaps, but he's looking very vulnerable to Campbell now, isn't he? Campbell running, he's not even using his ERS, and he's gaining so much through Blanchimon. Campbell, we've got a yellow flag. Is that possibly contact between the two McLarens? No, it's Matthias has dropped it for the third time. I wonder if he's got some wing damage or something, some rear wing damage, because he's dropped it twice now coming out of the bus stop, and again at Stavilo, or if he's just a little bit shaky, perhaps, with his traction. But Campbell certainly looking on like he's running very low wings here, because he was gaining a lot on the Yildirim on the run towards bus stop without touching his ERS there. And look at this little train now that we've got. Wouter, Gary, Packer are going to recommence battle here up Eau Rouge. I'm losing my words there. And everyone is using ERS very aggressively in these early stages.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's really close enough potentially for a move. Gary on the back of Wouter perhaps could be a move. Packer as well on the back. Nathan certainly is going to get the job done that Izza, but he's not really part of this train at this moment. Falls to Brendan 3s into 13th there as well. By the way, Montana gap Connor outside of a second into the bus stop chicane last time around. Oh, and there's contact further down the field. Izza and Nathan, I think, have been involved in an instant.
I wonder if they were just, I didn't see anything, but I wonder if they were just trying to go side by side all the way through Le Com, and a bit like J. Cole and Rocco, when you get that side pod contact, it always ends in at least one car spinning like a spinning top. But I wonder if someone was just a little bit too aggressive there, perhaps. But for once, normally you see one car go in that situation. This time it's taken two, and Izzat's got some damage there because he's just let Nathan go as he had a moment out of Ix.
Yeah, I think Nathan may be the one that actually had the contact with Izza. He let him through, coming through Bruxelles. I'm not sure if that was because the ghosting system that was in effect there. But Izza there down in 18. He's obviously came out worse in terms of that incident. It definitely was him and Nathan, I think, making contact. But we didn't see that on the stream either. So obviously we can just let that one go on the Ethernet, to be honest, in terms of that incident. But Montana out on top, Connor there in second. As I was saying, Montana has now gapped Connor outside of a second, and I think that's absolutely key as you're rolling sideways coming out of the bus stop chicane there, on board there with Verstappen coming on the run down in towards the source. He's not going to get the job done here. Is Alp going to maybe think about the move on Verstappen? No, the Remainers they are, but it certainly could be three wide coming down the Campbell straight in towards Le Com. Yeah, Montana has now gapped Connor outside of a second, and this means he has got more pace than Connor at this stage and looks in a real different class compared to Connor. At this stage, at this early stage, of course, anything can change in Belgium, as now Alp on the back of Verstappen, Verstappen on the back of your own, and it perhaps could be three wide because Alp is closing in very quickly on the back of Verstappen. He's going to have to think about a part in the Red Sea on the inside line, on your own, should get the job done. Your own still around the outside of him, and he gets the job back done. So great stuff by the FBO man. He's there into 6th position, Alp there in 7th, Alp outschooled there by your own on the outside line. Of course, a little bit off camber. He was always going to be coming to the left-hand side of him. Alp remains in 7th. Your own there in 6th does lose the position to Verstappen. Verstappen now is 4 seconds off the back of his teammate Campbell. Alfa Romeo, though, looking quite good in terms of the championship, as Gary, of course, is there in 9th position. Looks like Alfa Romeo currently outscoring AlphaTauri in terms of the constructors, and that will be quite big, of course, going forward for the current champions, of course, who were as a part of the AlphaTauri team last season.
They've underperformed a little bit this season, Campbell and Verstappen. I think Campbell missed a couple of races early on, killed his motivation for the Drivers' Championship, and the constructors is always a little bit secondary, isn't it? But they are such stalwarts in Division 1 of Verstappen and Campbell as teammates as well. Jerome's doing a good job, it has to be said, keeping these guys behind on the hard tyres, and he's securing or doing his best to shore up his chance of a top 6 finish the longer he can stay with Verstappen. Verstappen, you see derating from Jerome there, blinking away towards bus stop. So he's in a good place, Jerome, here, because the tyres are going to start to come towards him. Around lap 7, lap 8, that is where the mediums start to feel a little bit second hand, but there is quite a horde of cars queuing behind Jerome right now. Rocco passed Dylan on that last lap, but they are very close again. Rocco, Dylan, Rudy, and there's no love lost at all in LOE Division 1 between Dylan and Rocco. They had a couple of comings together at Hungary, and I know they're not the best of friends on track, even if they are good pals off it. And Rocco's gone very deep in turn 1, and Dylan's got a chance to re-overtake him this lap. And look at Packer as well, right behind Gary as we come on the Camel Straight. He had a look left, he's now looking right. Gary's trying to close off the space. They're both closing massively on Wouter here, and Wouter just acting as a bit of a block there, protecting Gary from the advances of Packer. And a penalty there for Nathan. Penalties flooding in at the back of the field.
I think Dylan potentially is desync. Oh, there is desync contact.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Dylan and Rudy.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rudy dived it down the inside line. On my end, certainly, Dylan is ghosted, so that is why the desync contact happens. Dylan now outside of the ghosting. Honestly, this game sometimes is an absolute joke in terms of the ghosting system, and Dylan there was completely desynced on my end, completely ghosted. Rudy tried to launch it down the inside of him. Obviously, he hasn't realised that Dylan is desynced as a result, and therefore the contact has been made. And that is an instant. If the game and the coding was absolutely fantastic in terms of this game, it would have been avoided. But no, the game, once again, absolutely shocking. Dylan and Rudy, contact that could have been avoided, and they could have got on their merry way in terms of an instant. And speaking of instants, there's a spinner in through Stavolo, and I think that's Nathan round.
I feel sorry for Nathan. He had such good pace going into this week. Qualifying with the work didn't quite go his way. And what else have you seen?
Jeroen was ducking and diving one way to the other. Gary as well into the pit lane just in behind. But Jeroen was ducking and diving on the back of Verstappen. I thought he was going to get the job done into the bus stop. Didn't. And then Alp thought about going for Jeroen as well in this contact, and Verstappen's been spun. And Alp now down into 7th because Wouter's just gone through as well. So 2 positions gained there for Relentless Wouter. He is now on a relentless warpath to try and pass Jeroen, his former Relentless teammate, of course, as Alp is on the back of these guys as well. And once again, we could get a 3-wide scenario down the Kemmel Straight as a result of that contact. Verstappen's lost 3 positions. Nathan retires into the pit lane, and Alp gets a 5-second penalty for cutting the corner as Wouter goes around the outside of Jeroen. Beautiful job done for the Ferrari, and he's through and he's into 5th position as Maledictus also battling with his own teammate of Forza Brendan. Slight glitch in terms of the timings there. Hopefully we haven't got a glitch lobby potentially. Montana out on top though, Connor in 2nd, Yildirim in 3rd. Nathan though retiring in the pit lane. He lost his front wing as a result of that incident.
I feel so sorry for Nathan. But you can always rely, can't you, on the 2 McLarens, the 2 Red Bulls and Rocco, I feel like, in Division 1 this season to give you a little bit of wheel-to-wheel action down the back end of the field. Wow, now 5.3 seconds off the back of Campbell. Race, I think, is mudded for these guys in terms of a fight for a podium. They're just very much having their own little battle in and amongst it. But Wouter, let's have a look at how many positions he gained. He's up 7 places. I know we've had a couple of pit stops, but he'll be on the medium tyres the second part of this race, and he's at the front of this train. He's cleared Alp and Verstappen thanks to that tagging at La Source. He's in a really good position here, Wouter. He's cleared Jeroen as well as the other high-running hard starter. He can still get himself a good 4th or 5th place in this race if there's anything happens ahead of him. So I don't count this man out for still hanging on to P2 in the championship after this round, as those 2 medium starters, Alp and Verstappen, are in. And I think they are going to find themselves very vulnerable as Maledictus has gone round. He's gone for a walkabout at bus stop there to who is it that pitted? Gary, who pitted last lap round. I'm intrigued where Gary's going to be in relation to those guys who are now in the pits, the Verstappen-Alp battle.
Yeah, it was Gary and Packer, in fact, that pitted last time around. Rudy in 13th is leading, is on the back of this train, and it's a train that develops all the way from Izza downwards to Packer at this point. Verstappen is coming out of the pit lane. He's going to be behind, I think, Packer once, obviously, he gets up the temperature in these tyres. As Connor is out of the race. What on earth has happened to Connor coming through Les Combes? Out of Malmedy, and he's lost it coming out of Malmedy. That is unbelievable. Connor is out of the race. Montana's gifted the win, perhaps. The AlphaTauri leads the way. Yildirim in 2nd, Campbell in 3rd, and if you thought this championship was not over, might just well be now. Connor out of the race, coming through Malmedy on the exit of Malmedy. Surely he's just got too happy on the curb on the outside, and therefore contact was made with the wall. Connor out of the race, and he will be, I am sure, absolutely furious at himself as a result, because that easily could have been avoided.
Probably, I think that's a signal, perhaps, how hard he was pushing to catch Montana. Those drivers that quick, they don't make those kind of mistakes unless they're absolutely on the limit. Everyone else who has pitted, so Packer, Gary, Verstappen, Alp will all be thanking their lucky stars. There was no safety car there, and there's a big moment for Dylan coming through second part of Lefania. Rudy nearly ploughed into the back of him, and Rudy, taking evasive action, has got Gary on his outside there. And in fact, look at Packer's gone as well round the back end of this battle, and Gary nearly forced up against the gravel there. He's going to tuck into the slipstream. Rudy covers the inside line. Gary's going to try to go around the outside. It's Rudy letting him go, perhaps, there. Quite possibly. Gary is through. He's ahead of Rudy. Perhaps Rudy realising he sinned a little bit there, and Gary weaving to say, yeah, damn right you let me through. We've got Yildirim into the pits. Gary goes deep, though, into the bus stop, and it's really going to now cut back underneath and try and get a run at Gary into turn 1 here. Gary's so slow off the exit. Rudy's got a good one, but Gary, I think, is using there to get a scamper away from the Williams.
Yeah, Rudy let him through, coming through Blanchman. I think, to be fair, he was obviously losing a little bit of tyre degradation in terms of his tyres. Montana, by the way, side by side with J. Cole on the run down the straight, then the Kemmel straight. And Forza Brennan's going to have to switch to the inside line here. The McLaren on the inside line of J. Cole, and Red Bull on the outside line now coming through Les Combes. Should be job done for Forza Brennan, and indeed is for Forza Brennan. Nice job there on the move. Through into 5th position on J. Cole. Forza Brennan into 5th. J. Cole there down into 6th. loses 2 positions. I was going to say Montana was in a little bit of heap of trouble. Then I remember Connor was, of course, out of the race. But Montana now is ahead of Brendan, is ahead of J. Cole. He's 6 seconds nearly clear of Yulbream. You may as well crown him champion now here in Belgium because he's looking absolutely potent out in front. And, of course, Wout is still yet to pit. Even better news from the man from Switzerland, still leading the way in the net lead of this race with Campbell, Wouter and Yaron still to pit in. And if you were in Campbell's shoes now, Killer, what would you do? Would you obviously come in and try and get yourself into that Gary, Dylan, Rudy battle? Or would you stay out another lap and then avoid these guys and then maybe try and overtake them a little bit later on?
I try and undercut them because what Campbell will notice is Dylan's made a little mistake then to stand low. Gary's going to nip through and takes P10 in this race. What I would notice, Campbell's into the pits now. He's got Wouter behind him on the hard tyres. Wouter's going to be going long. Wouter is in a fight with the likes of Dylan, the likes of Verstappen, the likes of Gary, not Dylan, sorry, Verstappen, Alp, Gary, etc. Those who've already pitted. Izzat is leading that train. Izzat can back them up as much as he possibly can to help Wouter. So he's going to be doing Campbell a favour as well there, is that by backing all of these guys up. And I think Campbell is going to be well clear of them. He's comfortably clear of those medium starters. And he's undercut Yulbream as well. So I think Campbell is comfy here for P2 because he looked a lot quicker than Yulbream before the pit stops. Although Yulbream has got a big run through Eau Rouge and Radion. And I think it's going to be a DRS overtake. And it's going to be a case of how far ahead of Campbell can Yulbream get now before those Alfa Romeo's hards are up to temperature.
He was hoping that that straight will be a little bit longer because he'll be able to pull away easily. Yulbream now, if he's more than 5 tenths clear, he's in a real good position as Campbell's just made a mistake there as well. That adds more time. It's now 7 tenths per second and Yulbream will be counting his lucky stars. He's there in 6th position, Campbell there in 7th, and he's going to be maybe outside of a second here as well. Yulbream can now really put on the power, really put on the pace. He can now put Campbell in his rear wing mirrors, and then, of course, he's still got another 5 seconds to Gary, who is the latest runner, who is still yet to come, still is obviously pitted in, but Rocco is ahead, still yet to come in the pit lane. They're going to be getting out of the way sooner rather than later, you would expect, and Gary is, 8 seconds down on Campbell in terms of this race. It is absolutely madness in terms of what we've seen. I think the spin from Connor obviously exacerbating things out on track. But still, only halfway through. Wouter leads the way. Yaron in 2nd. Montana there in 3rd. Of course, Montana is catching the front 2. Hand over fist. But Gary, on the back of Izza, is going to be an interesting battle. And Verstappen is not entirely out of this either. And do you know what? These guys are actually fighting out for a net P4, P5. Maybe even net podium when or if a safety car comes out.
Certainly, I mean, I wouldn't put it past anyone in this race to drop it yet. We've seen plenty of weird moments and mistakes. Look at the train that Izzat is towing there through the last chicane. And I wonder if Alp's got a little bit of damage here. Because I swear he was with these guys after that mistake. And he's just dropped back. He's not been able to reel them back in, even though Izzat leading this group is on very old tyres. Girona has passed Wouter for the lead of this race. Those two haven't pitted. That is the battle for position, as Izzat has made some kind of mistake coming out of the source because he just dropped 2 places there. And we've got a yellow flag as well. That is Packer round for the 2nd time today out of the source.
Yep, through turn number 1, Campbell's run on the back of Yulbream coming down in towards Lake Orme, and Verstappen now on the back of Gary attacks him to the inside line. QVR against QVR, and Verstappen is through, and he's into net P4 currently out on track. Maybe a net P5 though. Yaron and White are still yet to come in the pit lane. They're of course going to be on a set of mediums, and they of course are going to be the quickest guys out on track come the end of this race. Maybe even going to a set of soft compound tyres as well. More contact in the background as well. Rudy pretty much forcing Izza to try and get out of the way. These guys are on the same compound, on the same strategy. They're going to go for a set of mediums probably sooner rather than later in this race. But they've got Alp on the back, and Alp, I think, might have got held up by these guys. He made some sort of mistake, and Rudy is not going to attempt this. He's off track for goodness sake. Oh, this contact, now that was silly. Izza and Rudy out of the race, and that was easily avoidable, and that just deploys the safety car, and now that puts everyone now into full centred out on track. Rudy, honestly, I'll just put it bluntly, was one of the worst pieces of driving I think I've ever seen.
That was pure, unadulterated lunacy, idiocy from Rudy. What was that man doing?
He's off track.
Izzat was well within his rights to cover that inside line. He wasn't. If he was even half a car length alongside, I'd get it. But he had a smidge of his front wing alongside a smidge of Izzat's tyre. That doesn't entitle you, at least in my opinion, to a car's width of space. I'm not sure. And Lefania is such a short braking zone as well. You need to be right alongside to get a move done there. because you don't have the long braking zone to try and outbrake someone. But what it has done is it's brought Jerome, Wouter right into play on some fresh medium tyres. It's Montana, Gilbrim, Campbell. Montana's got the advantage in terms on pace on the guys behind him, but not when it comes to tyres. Giroud and Wouter will be fancying their chances here, and Verstappen is game big as well in P6 now. His main rivals for that position have been taken out of it.
Yeah, and to the person as well that called me biased towards Rudy a few weeks ago in terms of his incident, look at that incident once again and tell me he was not at fault for that incident, because if he wasn't, then I will honestly quit commentary in terms of that. It was just pure... You're entitled to go down the inside line, fair play, but he was off track, completely off track in terms of that. Then led up into the incident. Izza was trying to defend off him in the Ferrari, and I think Rudy was still entitled to try and go down the inside line. Even if he did, there still would have been contact as a result. And at one of the worst parts of the track where you could have collected potentially other drivers as well out on track. Jav saying in the comments as well, which made me laugh, certainly, PSGL F1 prodigy right there. And yeah, I'm going to tend to agree on that. He was, of course, PSGL F3 before that as well, which I, of course, covered. He was good when he was in PSGL F3, and now seems to have gone a little bit down by the wayside. But, of course, stewards will investigate that incident. Izza and Rudy, we only saw one camera angle. I was on board with, I think it was Gary, if I'm not mistaken, I was on board with in terms of that. And honestly, probably the perfect angle you could get as a result of that incident. Need not say more, need not say any more, need not say any less as well. But Rudy obviously out of the race, Izza out of the race. More contact that could have been easily avoided if there was just a bit of patience and a bit of virtue out on track. But still, these guys are pedantic. These guys do have egos at times, and I think that actually caused a little bit more problems potentially than the actual on-track racing out on track there in terms of that incident. But Montana out in the lead, from Milgram there in second, Campbell in third. We can discuss that incident until the cows come home. We're not though, we've got action to bring, and of course we're on to lap 14 as Montana leads the way, Milgram in second, Campbell in third, Matthias and Gary, Packer however, all back in the pit lane. And that is actually bad news for Packer because he is going to now double stack with his teammate.
Packer was last anyway, so he's not going to lose too much from that. I want to know why Gary pitted. He pitted last lap, put softs on. He's pitted again and put softs on. The softs wear at quite a rate here, so he's gonna do one lap less on them, which is I assume why he's pitted, because he was at the back anyway. But I don't think those softs are going to last him. I mean, we'll get going at the end of this lap. At the end of this one, we have 8 laps to go from 15 to 22. The soft tyres will die within 3 or 4 laps. Gary's pace will be nowhere come the end of this race compared to even Montana and Gilbrim, who are on slightly older hard tyres. I'm not sure why he's put softs on. I would have just put brand new hards on, or stayed on the hards that he'd already pitted onto and gone to the end. It's a non-decision to me for Gary to put softs on, and for Matt as well. It makes no sense. I want some of what they're smoking. Who else is in a good position here? J. Cole has had an absolute mare of a race, but he's in P9 and he's on the best tyres on the grid along with Jerome, Wouter, Brendan and Rocco. So big up J. Cole. He was slipping down the field quite a lot earlier on in this race. He's now in P9 on his merry way in a very good position for some solid points, as are both McLaren boys and Rocco as well.
Kiva there, by the way, in the chat is the person that called me biased, or called the commentary team biased, I should say, a few weeks ago. She has said, not gonna lie, I think it was Izza at fault for that, which I totally understand because he was moving across on him, and I think it was on purpose to help Wouter. I think that the second comment, to be honest, just completely takes it out of context. Obviously, I think people need educating, maybe, in terms of the commentary tonight, and I'm sure we will give that education in the next 9 laps or so. But Montana out on top, Gilbrim in second, Campbell in third. Montana now the virtual Bert Ballander. He's now the virtual safety car, and now he can control this race to his heart's content. Judging by the slow speed he's going at, obviously that is now going to be Montana probably on the run through Blanchimont, trying to string out the field, because he has to string out the guys like your own, like Wouter, who are much quicker tyres than him and can get to the end of the race from this point on that set of medium compound tyres as well. But it is fascinating what Montana is doing. Gilbrim has got to literally be stuck like super glue right on the back there of Montana. And if he's not, he could come under a lot of pressure, as now we begin to say go. Oh, I thought we were going to say go there. Now Montana says go. Even before Blanchimont, he says go, and it's now 5/10 of a second coming through Blanchimont. Campbell, though, is right on the back of Yildirim on that restart, and actually it's strung out the field to a point where Wouter is nearly outside of a second to Jeroen as well. Really good restart from Montana's perspective. Wouter there in 5th, goes a bit deep into the bus stop chicane. He has to cut across the curb and picks up a 5-second penalty, which is a bit unfair there, and spins coming out the corner and loses the position to Verstappen as a result. Not the best restart for Wouter. Montana though leads the way. Yildirim now in 2nd, Campbell in 3rd, Jeroen there in 4th, and Yildirim goes a little bit too deep in towards turn number 1 as well, and now nearly side by side in toward Lecombe, and down in toward Lecombe, down towards Rouge and Radion we go. Montana leads the way by a 1.5 from Yildirim in 2nd, Campbell in 3rd, Jeroen in 4th. Jeroen is right on the back of Campbell. Now here he comes, potentially for a 3-wide scenario down in toward Lecombe. Campbell's right on the back of Yildirim though, jinks to the outside line to try and get this job done in towards Lecombe. The Alfa Romeo and the Hats now side by side, and Jeroen's going to try and get both of them around the outside of Campbell. Brilliant stuff, opportunistic from Jeroen. Thuni's into 3rd, Yildirim now in 2nd. He's got to watch out behind because Jeroen is coming from in towards Bruxelles.
Thought Jeroen was going to send it then, but he played the safe card, as he should have done. Brendan passes out, though, into that hairpin and up into P7. Brendan is having a cracking restart, and look at Wouter as well. He lost that place to Verstappen. He wants it right back on those medium tyres, pounding the Alfa Romeo here through Pouhon. Is he ever going to have a go into Lafagna? Is it going to end in less tears than Rudy? And is that perhaps, although Wouter's forcing Verstappen all the way to cover that position, can't make the move there. Further back, J. Cole is hustling Alp now. The medium runners have got such an advantage in these opening laps, and Jeroen now, surely his chance is going to come into the bus stop chicane, and you can see where all of the close battles are on track. It's where there's a medium runner behind a hard runner, and as you say, James, absolutely easy as you like there for Jeroen. He's through to P2. Can he catch Montana?
Yeah, I think he could, to be honest. He's on that sort of medium compounded tyres, 2.8 seconds behind. Wouter now is going to jump to the inside line into the bus stop. Late on the brakes. What a move that is by Wouter. Verstappen gave him the room there. That is how you perform an overtake. That is how you overtake around here at Belgium, ladies and gentlemen. Wouter Thuni's into 5th. Made Verstappen look like an absolute mug in terms of that instant. Beautiful stuff from Wouter. Obviously on pressure tyres. Got the job done. That is racing, and that is fairness at its play right there, which is really good to see. Wouter through, and he's into 5th position. Yildirim on the back of Jeroen as well, coming out of a Rouge and Radion. He goes a bit too deep, actually, coming through a Rouge and Radion, and now gives Campbell potentially a chance. And look at Brendan on the back of Verstappen. I think they made side-by-side contact there as we came on board with them in towards Lecombe. I think Verstappen is just going to hang on, but Brendan maybe not too happy with that little bit of contact there.
Yeah, Brendan tagged his front right wheel, tagged the left rear of Verstappen. He's got such a better line through Malmedy there, has Brendan. Is he going to send it into the hairpin? Oh, he thought about it, then backed out. Meanwhile, J. Cole is trying to do the same to Alp there, but can't quite force that move. J. Cole not been able to do too much with his tyres. It's Wouter who's making the moves as well, and Brendan as well. Verstappen's a bit of a sitting duck here. He's got only one hard runner behind him to help him out. That is Alp. I'll tell you what, though, I think the soft experiment hasn't worked too much. Should I say that?
Oh,
Matt's going to go around the inside of Rocco. Oh, and then gets over the curb. You don't want to be over the inside of that one, mate. It's going to spin you right out. And he has to back out, and he's still having a look into Stavolo. Some great opportunism going on here. I'm not sure all of it aligns with...
Oh, I think we've lost Killabrew there in the chat. I think his mic might have just unplugged itself. Balls of Brendan though on the back of Verstappen. Yeah, opportunistic definitely in terms of these moves. Verstappen there in 6th, Brendan there in 7th, out there in 8th, on the run up towards the bus stop. Not going to get the job done. Matthias though sent it from an absolute mile back. If he gets this one pulled off, this might be overtaking the season. Matthias tries to now switch it back. He's not going to get the job done. Bit sideways coming out of bus stop as well. But Montana leads the way, and already Jeroen is near the inside of a second, leading the way. Montana, 1.2 seconds the gap. There's been an absolute cluster coming through turn number 1. Brendan has been spun. I think he got caught up with Al potentially in terms of that. And now we're nearly 3 wide in towards a Rouge and Radion. Goodness me. Rocco Verstappen, Jekyll, all cutting corners now. Rocco picking up 3-second penalty. Campbell now on the back of Yildirim. On the run down and towards Lecombe. Gets the job done. He's into 3rd. Rocco now on the back of Jekyll. Is he going to go for 7th on the outside line? No. Red Bull holds the position. Rocco there in 8th. Matthias there in 9th. Gets past Verstappen. And now he's right on the back of Rocco. Where's Matthias came into this? 4th last week. Literally now gunning it through the field as Gary now dives it down the inside line of Verstappen. This is absolute mad racing here in Belgium. As Montana leads the way, Jeroen in 2nd, Campbell there in 3rd, not sure what has happened with Killer Blue. He's just messaged me to say that my laptop and my mic is broke. I may not be able to return. I'll try and source my headphones. That is a shame for Killer Blue, which means, unfortunately, for some of you, you might just be able to hear me for the next 6 laps or so. Montana leads the way, though. Jeroen in second. Jeroen is on the back now, Montana. 14% of ERS. Montana's got more ERS than him. So if I was the VFER manager, TDB, there in the comment section, Jeroen has got to save that ERS. He's got to save it now. Campbell there in third. Yildirim in fourth. White there in fifth. And now, nearly more side-by-side action through Blanchimont. Alpha's under pressure from J. Cole in towards the bus stop chicane. The Red Bull now tries to jink it to the inside line. Not going to get the job done. Matthias once again on the back of Rocco. These two go way back in terms of what I've been commentating on in the past. Matthias on the back of Rocco. Again slides his way coming out of the bus stop chicane. And again just loses time there to Rocco. Currently holding there in 7th, 8th and 9th position. Montana leads the way. Jeroen in second. Campbell in third. Killer by any chance. Are you back with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
I am back. Okay, I'm on some crappy little earphone microphone, but it's all we need, isn't it? Look at Jeroen, how close he is to Montana. Montana's got some ERS to defend with, though, so we'll see how that evolves. As I just hop on board with Jeroen, he goes a touch deep there into Lecom. You can't afford those mistakes when you fight in Montana for the win. And Campbell's looking a little bit vulnerable as well, and J. Cole gone into Lecom. He was having such a good race. Not the first half of it, but the second half was going very well. Maybe plummets down to 14th. And the Red Bull not having a particularly happy day, are they, down there?
Yeah, it's a shame. I think he might have got into a little bit of contact with Matthias, potentially. I know Matthias had to cut across the curb there, so maybe taking an avoiding action, or there was a bit of contact there between them both. Regardless, J. Cole down in 14th, and Matthias there currently in 8th. There was a yellow flag in Sector 2, and that is J. Cole around again, coming out of Jackie Ick's corner. Montana, though, leading the way. Jeroen there in second. Jeroen, I think, TDB has been listening to me. He has saved a bit of ERS. 17%. Montana on 44%, though. He needs to lift and coast, I think, to try and gain, as J. Cole again has spun. Coming through Puon, well, Montana leads the way. Jeroen in second. Campbell in third. 4 laps to go after this one. Montana currently holds sway, but Jeroen in a potentially a bit of unlikely contact. Remember, he had contact earlier on in the race as well, as Jarvis pointed out. He had that contact, and he may still get penalised with that contact with Nathan from earlier on in the race. Regardless of that, Jeroen currently is in a race-winning fight.
He is indeed, and until anything comes out in terms of stewards reports, you can't assume anything. So Jeroen's got to play this like he's fighting for the win, and he is in a great position. He had a scruffy exit though out of the bus stop chicane. He lost over a 10th to Montana. You can't make those kind of mistakes when you're fighting for a win. Otherwise, you just make it so easy for the guy trying to defend, because Jeroen's tyres are just going to get worse and worse compared to Montana's. Penalty for J. Cole. I think he must have some rear wing damage. I think that was why he was spinning so much. Some contact happening there. Maledictus passes Verstappen, P11, and Packer might be making it double trouble for Verstappen here, but the straight's not quite long enough for him. Verstappen, he rose up so high earlier on, but now he's falling back down the field. He needs to think about those penalties for Gary. Matt Rocco ahead. Rocco said he's not had a finish above P9 this season. He's currently sitting P7, so he's in a good spot for a top result. Look at Jeroen now, half a second to Montana. He's got 3 laps to go, and James is as close as he's been since this safety car restart.
And he's still saving up that ERS, but he is still not doing enough. Montana is lifting and coasting at points of the circuit where Jeroen isn't, and I think that is really the telling difference at this point. Of course, Jeroen will have that 20-mile-an-hour extra speed, will have that DRS, of course, when he gets towards the end of this race. I think he might be just sitting back, waiting for Montana, trying to exploit a weakness. Now used up a bit of ERS there coming through Blanchimont, but Montana still holding sway. 51% of ERS to Jeroen's 22% into the bus stop chicane. Right on the back of Yildirim as well. Battle for third is not entirely out of this either. And Alp is not really out of this in terms of penalties, perhaps. Yildirim and Campbell, of course, they're in third and fourth, haven't got any penalties. White does, though, and Alp could still be on for a potential P5 finish at least in terms of this race. Montana leads the way on lap 20 in what has been, I think, a really good Belgian Grand Prix. Of course, incidents could have been avoided. Of course, Rudy and Izza will be investigated by the end of this race, and that is the end of the matter for that. As Jeroen right on the back of Montana, now going to go for the move in towards the kettle, straight down in towards Lecom. Montana now will have to try and pull and defend. Jeroen to the outside line, leads the way here in Belgium. Through goes the FBR man on the NSX man. He's Throonies into the lead. Whiter and Yildirim are side by side as well. Whiter Throonies into fourth. Yildirim there down into fifth, and Albert's holding on down for 6th position as Packer gains past Verstappen as well. In towards Lecombe. Jeroen Thuni's into the lead. I think he's gone too early.
It's so hard to judge these situations because you got to, how confident is Jeroen in his ability to get a gap. If he can get 6-7 tenths on Montana, that may be enough. Even with Montana's ERS advantage, it all depends what wings they're running as well. I want to worth a mention is Wouter's gap to Alp stands at 3.8 seconds, 3.9 seconds right now. He needs another second and a bit in the last couple of laps to hold on to that P4. The soft runners as well, 2.1 clear of Maledictus are Matt and Gary. They're in a tricky spot trying to secure up their P8 and P9. I think they're only going to fall one place if they do succumb to the penalty situation. So what's Jeroen's gap? It's 0.5 seconds. Montana, he's running lower wings. He's not having to use ERS here. Montana has got a huge straight line speed advantage. He's gaining so much on the run towards the bus stop, and he doesn't need to even touch his ERS. And look at that, the back end stepping out for Jeroen there. I think you're right, James. I think he's gone too early because he doesn't have the straight line speed on the setup to compete with what Montana's running.
I think Montana, honestly, is just going to sit and wait in behind. But if he goes for it on this lap around, Montana can easily stretch ahead, I think, by a second. He's on the better tyres at this point in the race. He's obviously got Jeroen pretty much in his back pocket, even though he's still 5 tenths away. But Montana, I think he needs to go for it. Final lap of the race and then secure it there. 60% of ERS. He sits behind 4 tenths of a second. Of course, he's going to be gaining. Is he going to go for the move in towards Lecombe? I don't think he will. He'll back off. And Jeroen there currently holds the lead. Montana in second. Wouter in third. But that is perfect judgment from Montana. Doesn't need to do any more than what he's already doing. And Montana there already going to be looking, I think, for his 8th win, I'm tempted to say, this season, or 9th win this season. We've lost count of how many he's done. But Jeroen leads the way. Montana there in second. Wouter there in third. Wouter also got the job done on Campbell, which I didn't see. So Wouter third, he's into third. Campbell fourth. Yildirim there in fifth. And they're fighting out for the final point scoring position in terms of the podiums, at least, with points scoring all the way down into P12, which Verstappen currently holds at this point as Forza Brendan comes back in the pit lane. And he, I think, is going to go for a fastest lap attempt to try and steal it off the current fastest lap, which is Jeroen on a 45 flat. And I think that is easily going to be beaten when Brendan gets on that set of soft compound tyres. Jeroen the lead. Montana in second, but again, 6.5 tenths coming out of Stavolo. Montana is absolutely devil-like on the run-up towards Blanchimont. He is gaining so much.
He's got a ridiculous amount of straight line speed. Is anyone going to fancy, if someone's come a cropper, it's Gary has come a cropper on the exit of Stavolo. Does Jeroen fancy doing Montana's own trick to him and running accidentally very deep into La Source here and letting Montana through? Or is he just going to try and defend this one on track? And let's have a look. No, Jeroen is not playing any DRS games. I think Montana was prepared for them there. He took a very wide line to turn one. But Montana, he's got the ERS to use it. This is going to be his move he can make. Look how much he's gaining already towards Eau Rouge. And this, I think, James, is going to be the move for victory.
This is going to be the easiest move you'll see all night as well, because Montana's right on the back of Jeroen. Jeroen is trying to empty his ERS. Montana, though, pulls alongside. Honestly, breezing past him as he's not even there. Montana takes the lead of the race here in Belgium. Jeroen, though, is still going to put up this fight. He will not be done with on that set of mediums. Campbell, by the way, through and into third down the Camel Straight as well. So he's into third. Rocco fighting with Matthias side by side in toward Lecombe and gets the job done. So Rocco through and he's into seventh. Really recovering well, I think, from an early spin. Rocco there in seventh. Matthias there in eighth. But Montana now sets his bid for glory and uses up that ERS. And already the gap is 6 tenths of a second. Doing no more than he pleases. Montana now coming through Pouhon for the final time. As long as he keeps it on the white stuff, he is going to be winning here once again in Belgium and wrapping up another potential win and maybe just putting 4 fingers on that championship, maybe with the thumb to follow next week as Montana leads the way coming through Campos for the final time. Jeroen is putting up a real dogged fight. It's 5.5 tenths. It might not be over and done with just yet. For Montana, leading the way, coming up towards Blanchimont. It has looked an absolute imperious drive once again. When Connor fell up by the wayside out of the race, it was no looking back for Montana. He absolutely extends away now in towards the bus stop chicane. He is going to be another race winner. There's 3 wide, by the way, in the background, which I'm going to cover now. It's Rocco Matthias, who are running a big train, and Packer's just been overtaken by them both. Montana on the run to the line, wins here in Belgium. Jeroen there in second, Campbell in third, and I think somebody has came a cropper in terms of that battle there as well. Campbell there in third in the end, Yildirim in fourth, and I think, as a result, Matthias got caught up in that instant, and I think Packer is now ahead of Maledictus and ahead of Rocco, which is, don't know what happened there, to be honest, in terms of that instant. What happened?
Matthias wasn't involved. He didn't come a cropper. He got absolutely murdered by his teammate. Packer just rail rammed his way into the back of the Alpine in Blanchimont, completely turned Matt round. Somehow they ended up next to each other in the finishing order, but that was a complete. That wasn't murder. That was an assassination from Packer on the back of his stand-in teammate there. I'm not sure if Matt had to lift or if he had tyre issues or like a puncture or something. And 9 laps is a long way to go on a set of softs here, but that was if Matt didn't lift, that was just pure stupidity from Packer.
Yeah, Brennan picks up the fastest lap of the race as well, so I think he picks up the extra point, finishing there down in P14. Driver of the day, what about the in-game fans, is Maledictus. He was a bit quiet in that race, obviously got caught up in that little bit of a skirmish, let's just say. But your definition of an assassination makes the Rudy and Izza incident seem quite easy, to be honest. But there we are. We'll let the stewards, of course, decide on all incidents that have been given here tonight, or that will be given, of course. We'll let you know in due course, and hopefully there won't be any biased comments coming towards me as a result of me saying that. But striding effortlessly on the back to the podium, punching above his weight, once again, Montana takes the win here in Belgium, and surely 4 fingers now on that championship. The other hand, of course, will follow next week, if and only if he is mathematically in still contention. But a great win for Montana. He takes the race win, and in the end, he had to work for it in terms of the safety car, but once again, pure domination.
Certainly, I think he always seemed to have the edge over Connor, didn't he? And then the safety car made it trickier for him, but I think he had the measure over everyone today. His 8th win of the season, 4 for Connor. It continues to be that NSX have a monopoly on victories this season. Giron and Justas came close today and at Hungary. Wouter at USA, but still no one can quite dethrone those NSX boys, can they? And Montana's lead now stands at, it was 106 points. He's extended that by, I want to say, 17 points today. So it's a 123-point lead for NSX Montana with 132 available after today. Montana wins from Giron, then Campbell takes 3rd, Julbream, Alp, Wouter, Maledictus, Rocco, Verstappen and Packer complete the top 10. Matt and Dylan the points, then Gary, Brendan and our DNFers J. Cole, Izzat, Rudy, Connor, Nathan and Pease. How long ago it felt that Connor, Nathan and Pease were in this race. So much has happened, James, as you said a couple of times this evening. It has been bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers indeed. Unfortunately, we're going to have to skip the interviews because I've got to go after this. And I know Larkin is missing as well, so he also has to skip the interviews as well. So that means, of course, we are going to be going and delving into our calendar with only one more race to come before the only break week of the season. It is in Austria next week at the Red Bull Ring. Hopefully going to be a good race there, of course, and hopefully it is going to be fantastic to watch and fantastic to, I'm sure, listen to as well. There was a poll put up, by the way, in the chat as well. Who was to blame in terms of the Rudy and Izza incident? Overwhelmingly, many people voted for Rudy. That 8% voter, I'm sure, is Kira there in the chat, who is a he, not a she, which I apologise for. But yeah, Izza, of course, that incident, as with many incidents here in Belgium, will get investigated after the race. Of course, if there's no report, then there will be no investigation in terms of the incident. However, though, with, of course, the stewards maybe looking on in more than one shape, way, or form, then obviously they might get investigated as a result. But my voice has gone as well, which I think is going to do me in terms of the interviews as well. We really hope you enjoyed tonight's live stream. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. Division 2 and Division 4 coming up in around 27 minutes time. So you've got enough to get a tea and a bicky. And we will see you, of course, at 8:10 UK time for Division 2 and Division 4 with J. Cole and Verstappen taking through the action for D2. And Packer, I think, is taking through the action for Division 4 as well. But really hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. We are going to be seeing you back next week in Austria. Hopefully, better racing, better standards of driving to come, and hopefully, maybe a race of the season candidate to boot with as well. But that has been tonight's live stream for Division 1. I've been James Head, of course, he's been Killer Blue. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.